Taxes was feeling so stuck. Sitting in traffic, squeezing into a parking spot, all to squeeze in getting tax help during your lunch break. Now Taxes is a TurboTax expert who does your taxes for you, while you go about your day getting real-time notifications about their progress and the most money back guaranteed. Now this is Taxes. Intuit TurboTax. Get an expert now on TurboTax.com. Only available with TurboTax Live Full Service. Real-time updates only in iOS mobile apps. See guarantee details at TurboTax.com/guarantees.
KFI AM 640. You're listening to Later with Mo Kelly. On demand on the iHeartRadio app.
Chris Merrill in for Mo today. KFI AM 640. Listen anytime on demand on the iHeartRadio app. Pleasure being with you this evening. Back again Sunday night as well. So please, if you're in your car, in your house, whatever, bored, join us every Sunday afternoon. In the meantime, I wanted to start with this. We'll talk, obviously, wildfires. It's kind of a thing going on. I was fascinated when I saw a story, and there were a couple of different news channels that were covering this one today. I was fascinated when I saw this story. I didn't think this was a thing. Fire-resistant homes. Now, when I think of a fire-resistant home, I think of a medieval castle. I don't think of a fire-resistant home as something built during modern times. It feels like it should be something that's built only out of brick or stone or something of that sort. But evidently, there's a couple whose home is standing because they retrofitted it to make it basically, I'm not going to say fireproof, but let's say highly fire-resistant. I got to believe that there's going to be some building code changes that are coming our way. Got to believe that's happening. I don't see, in the same way that earthquakes hit, we changed the building codes so that high-rise buildings are earthquake resistant, that homes are more sturdy or will give a little bit, whatever it is. You know what I mean? In Florida, you build your house so that it can resist hurricanes. The Midwest, you make things tornado. Nah, they don't. But here, I feel like fires are now, used to be earthquakes was the big one. Fires seem to be now the natural disaster that everybody has to worry about because it's not an if, but a when it feels. And maybe I'm mistaken on that. Maybe I don't mean to be sensational, but I mean, for Pete's sake, after witnessing what we just did, is any neighborhood safe? I don't think it is. So I think new building codes are likely to take into account what can we do to not only protect the home and the people inside, but create a fire block. If you have, let's say you've got a number of homes, say you've got 100 homes, right, that are all built with fire-resistant materials. The fire can't get past, if those homes aren't catching fire, that means the fire runs out of fuel and can't burn the homes on the other side of that 100. Now, those homes may be damaged severely, but it could potentially save thousands of homes on the other side. I mean, basically, you're building fire breaks along the way. So here's what they did. ABC7 was talking with this group in the Palisades that did this retrofit to make things fire resilient.
Michael Kovac and his wife Karina Mayer moved to the Pacific Palisades in 2002 into a 1950s home. They say they deconstructed the home, donated the parts to Habitat for Humanity, and built their current home. Both Michael and Karina are avid environmentalists, and Michael's architecture firm specializes in hillside homes and environmental design.
Seems to be kind of a serendipitous coincidence.
Use their home as a project to explore sustainable systems in wildfire resilience.
So we have fiber cement siding that is extremely fire resilient. We have a very high performance commercial called a Class A roof.
Hey, that fiber cement siding, is that, Mark, isn't that what they use in like bathroom remodels? Is that what they have behind the shower?
I'm not your guy for that. I couldn't tell you.
Foosh, are you manly enough to know the answer to that?
Oh, no, look at him. No way.
Yeah, no, me neither. Okay.
We have a planted green roof, which is a very fire resilient feature. We have commercial glazing, so insulated glass, which prevents radiated heat from going through the windows and igniting the house from within.
I don't think I would have thought of a planted green roof as being highly fire resistant. When we see all the brush catching fire, you think of that organic material as being fuel, but evidently it's better than the alternatives. No, it feels like tile would be more fire resistant than the planted green roofs, but what do I know?
And then on the back of the house, we were always concerned that a fire would approach, which it did, from the bottom of the hill up. So we have a FOSCheck fire retardant system that we were able to call and activate.
Their home is LEED Platinum certified. LEED stands for Leadership in Energy and Environmental Design. They believe these fire-resilient features saved their home last week.
Seeing all of our friends and neighbors' houses gone is brutal.
Their goal is to highlight ways others can protect their homes in fire-prone areas so no one has to go through this again.
I think people's reactions and realization lag behind the science. So I think the science was warning us of this a long time ago, and that we're on an exponential curve, and things beyond our imagination are going to continue to happen. So we need to look reality in the face and prepare ourselves.
The good news is that we can do this. I mean, architecturally, as a construction industry, there are not hugely expensive ways to rebuild in a way that would make sure this didn't happen again.
In the Pacific Palisades, Jaysha Patel, ABC 7 Eyewitness News.
Oh, thank you very much. Nice job. You know, he said they're not terribly expensive ways, but they are going to be a little more expensive. I don't know that there's any way around it. I wish there were. I wish we could say we're going to change the building code and it's not going to cost any more money, but I mean, it is. There's no way around it. And I don't know that they can go on without changing the code. Think of the political fallout that the leaders are getting right now. I mean, there's a lot of nationals pointing fingers at Gavin Newsom. He really screwed up. How dare he? He's a bad dude. He's an evil villain. And imagine that he says we got to change the building code. There are going to be people that say, "Oh, how dare he do this? He's making the rebuilding more expensive. This is part of his plan to destroy California." You know how the politicians talk, or the wonks talk when they take to the internet, the keyboard warriors. But imagine if he doesn't. I mean, we didn't change the building codes, or we certainly haven't retrofitted very many. I mean, these people did. But we saw what happened in Paradise. We saw what happened with the campfire. We're seeing this. We know it's not a question of if we're going to have a 100,000-acre fire that will be highly destructive every year. That's the new normal. You know, those used to be the biggest fires in history, would be 100 or 200,000 acres. Now it's a million acres to really get a lot of notice, or it has to do $1 billion worth of damage, which is what we're seeing. Could be, what are the estimates now? Somewhere between $30 and $130 billion. Kind of a wide range. But if they don't change the code after this, you have to believe that the next fire that is destructive and claims lives, the fingers will be pointed and saying, it's not like you didn't know. You didn't do anything. And they're not going to, at that time, be able to say, yeah, but, you know, we ran into a lot of people saying it was going to make construction too expensive and we wanted to keep housing prices down. Because after the fact, you don't get to explain yourself out of it. We're seeing that right now with, for instance, the empty reservoir. And people are explaining, look, the reservoir had to be repaired and it wasn't something that you could do overnight. You know, it takes time, blah, blah, blah. It doesn't matter. There wasn't any water in the reservoir when we needed water. And so the thing is, why did you do it in a way that didn't have water available when you needed it, right? So if you don't make this change now, then when the time comes, you're not going to be able to explain yourself. You can't rationalize, well, you know, we didn't make things safer because we were concerned about the housing costs going up. People are going to say, well, who cares about housing costs? There's X amount of people that have died. How dare you? You know what I mean? Just don't see it. I don't see us going forward without making drastic changes in the building codes. It's going to happen. By the way, what do we have, like 36 people still missing? 30. I think we're at 36. That number, you know, can grow and go up and down. We have sort of a repository for people that are reported missing. So we put that up at KFIAM640.com/missing. We made it easy for people like me that aren't real bright. KFIAM640.com/missing. and you'll see the people that are on there. I think they're driver's license photos, most of them. And you'll also see, tragically, most of them are over the age of 70, and many of them have mobility issues, bedridden or mobility issues. It is disheartening because you have a really, really bad feeling how so many of those missing person cases are going to end up. So as we find out about more names and we get more photos, we'll add those, again, to KFIAM640.com/missing. What about getting back into the homes? Because Mayor Bass says there's nothing more important. Does that mean you can go up right now? Yeah, don't try it.
You're listening to Later with Mo Kelly on demand from KFI AM 640.
And iHeartRadio hosting a special California town hall with Governor Newsom Sunday, 9 a.m. across iHeartRadio's California stations, including KFI AM 640. Governor Newsom's going to take questions from Californians who have been impacted by the recent fires and then discuss plans for the future of our state. So be sure to tune into KFI Sunday morning at 9. All right. So great way to get the word out. Boy, this is our time to shine, isn't it? I mean, this is the time that people go, I got to have the radio on. You're not streaming this stuff. Nope. You're not pulling up your Netflix to find out what's going on with the governor has to say. Nope. Come in here. RADIO. It's the reason that the industry's been around for well over 100 years. Because we do it. What we do. Take that, Gen Z. Did want to. Newsom Newsom put out an executive order. He ordered an executive order. How do you say that? He enacted an executive order. Newsom's executive order expedites temporary housing construction for wildfire-displaced Californians. And in doing so, it eases restrictions on mobile homes and builds on burned lots. It strengthens protections against price gouging, capping rental increases at 10%, and then targeting predatory practices by landlords and property buyers. 8 shelters with a capacity of 800 people have been opened. Soaring real estate prices and housing inequalities persist, particularly in the affluent areas like Pacific Palisades. So one of the things about the Palisades that is interesting is that people who are not here believe that the Palisades is all Hollywood elitists. And, of course, that's not always the case. Certainly there are some legacy homeowners. Is that I feel like that word works. They are legacy homeowners. They are not the multi-gajillionaires. They're people who have been there their whole lives. In some cases, you've got generational homeownership. But now that the homes are gone, are those people going to be able to rebuild? Or is Pacific Palisades now going to become an elitist enclave because all the older places are out of there, and the only people that can afford to rebuild are the ones that have a ton of money? Well, I guess time will tell on that one, but it sounds like Newsom doesn't want that to be the case. I just don't know that it's not going to be the case. I also don't know. I don't know how many people who don't have a lot of disposable income, and by a lot I mean a few mil. I don't know how many are willing to take the risk of rebuilding in an area that just burned. Sort of a once bitten, twice shy situation. I mean, I get that lightning doesn't strike twice, right? That's the old adage. Lightning never strikes in the same place twice. But if I got hit by lightning on the golf course, I might not go golfing again. Forget not golfing in a thunderstorm. I might not just ever step on a golf course again. I learned my lesson, you know? So there's a chance that people go, forget it. And then they get out. If they have insurance, they take that insurance payout and they go, I'm going to Idaho. I'm not sure. Now, Mayor Karen Bass says her top priority. What is it? Top priority.
Well, my message to Los Angeles is that after the fires are out definitively,
I'm going back to Ghana.
There is no greater priority than getting people back home.
Okay.
And the first step to that are crews that are working tirelessly to lift evacuation orders. But I want to be very clear about this, because the decisions about lifting evacuation orders will be done by public safety officials, and it's going to be based on safety and danger.
Which is kind of the way to say safety again. Okay.
Yesterday and today, some evacuation orders will be lifted, and I want to thank our firefighters for that. Other zones are going to take longer. There's lots of hazardous waste, and I could see that yesterday. You could see paint cans. You could see batteries from electric vehicles, gas leaks, and more. But the EPA hazard teams are already deployed. As our army of firefighters kills these fires and withdraws, we will be moving in with an army of builders, like the people and equipment that you see here. I know there is so much frustration because when people know that one side of the street, houses might be destroyed, the other side of the street, houses intact, and why can't they get home?
Yeah, I'd be frustrated too.
This is an unprecedented natural disaster, and it warrants an unprecedented response. We are going to do everything we can to clear the way so that people can get back home.
Okay.
This means that we're going to have to reorganize government around
New World Order! New World Order! No, that's not what she's calling for.
Around urgency, a common sense, and compassion. And we will do everything we can to get Angelenos back home. I've done and will be doing and rolling out next week a series of executive directives to do just that.
Okay.
Working in connection with our city council, many city council members have put forward motions. We're going to be collaborating on that because some of those motions can get done quicker by turning them into executive directives.
Uh-huh.
But I will tell you that this is why I have appointed Steve Soberoff to serve as the Chief Recovery Officer for the City of Los Angeles for Phase 1 of us building back LA strong.
So, okay. Sorry, I'm trying to parse through political speak here. Guys, did she say anything? 'Cause what I just heard is we want to get you home. I know you're frustrated. I gave a guy a new job. I also wonder, is his job scapegoated? I mean, does she appoint him to be the director of being a scapegoat if things don't go right? Because if there's one thing I know, we will find something that ain't right, and we will argue about it. And then we're going to point fingers at somebody. Is this just kind of her way to put somebody between her and the critics? Or am I just being cynical? Yeah, I'm sorry. I don't trust politicians. Just don't. Man, am I a cynic. Ugh. Speaking of politicians that you shouldn't trust, the federal government, of course, has some disaster relief aid. The Congress can allocate some of that disaster relief aid. All Congress has to do is vote on it, and then it gets signed. But is it possible that we turn the wildfires into a real opportunity? As the politicians like to say, never let a good crisis go to waste.
You're listening to Later with Mo Kelly on demand from KFI AM 640.
I'm sure you've heard this by now, so I'm not telling you anything new, but just to reset and make sure we're all on the same page. Earlier this week, the House Speaker, Mike Johnson, was talking with reporters and said that there had been some discussion of tying California wildfire aid to a debt limit increase after some members of his party raised the issue with Donald Trump in several meetings at the president-elect's Florida resort this weekend. I did see that Jim Jordan is encouraging Trump to move the Olympics out of L.A. to a red city. Did you catch that one, Ronner?
Not the Olympic one, but all sorts of stories about people trying to tie conditions to disaster aid when none was tied to disasters in their states.
I don't think have there ever been conditions tied to disaster aid? Not to the best of my recollection.
Not up to now.
And I don't think there will be. We've seen this play out before. I think that Johnson is either he's floating a trial balloon just to see if the base takes the red meat, or I don't know, maybe he's just trolling California.
I did hear a clip of Trump saying something fairly similar, though.
But again, he is probably the greatest internet troll of all time. And you can take that either as a compliment or an insult. Doesn't matter.
Yeah, I'm going to recuse myself from commenting on that.
But Trump knows how to just say things that are going to torque people, right? I mean, he just knows. He just knows. If I say this, people are going to go bonkers. And then that's a distraction. It gets his base all riled up, and then people start fighting online. I mean, it's a. I don't think it's a real healthy hobby for the president to have, but he's very good at it. So maybe Johnson's just trolling California. Jordan saying that Trump should move the Olympics to a red city kind of blows my mind because I don't think Jim Jordan realizes the Olympic host city is not the president's call. I don't think he really gets that. So I don't know how you're going to executive order the Olympics out of California and into Dallas or something. I don't see that. Like, oh, the wildfires are a mess. It's Newsom's fault. Move the Olympics to Nashville. No, that's not going to happen. And let's also remember that every city in America that would be even remotely close to being large enough to host the Olympics is run by Democrats. And that's your rural-urban divide. The big cities are run by Democrats. So I don't know where Jim Jordan thinks that you're going to take the Olympics and put them in a red city? What red city? You're not going to find one. So, not going to happen. Meanwhile, Alex Padilla, senator, was talking with KTLA, and they asked him specifically about the fire politics. And here's what he had to say about it.
Look, I personally find it offensive and insulting that they would exploit this situation and leverage families that are hurting to condition aid and try to advance other parts of their agenda.
Now, to be clear, they haven't. But there's been some discussion. So they haven't done anything yet. Good or bad, they haven't done anything. That's what Congress does. Nothing.
You know, I get it. Donald Trump won the election, and I get it. The Republicans are in the majority in the House and the Senate, but never in our nation's history have we conditioned aid. Never have Democrats tried to leverage aid. Going back to just last year, you know, in front of committee today was former Governor Burgum from North Dakota, who requested a disaster declaration from President Biden. It was granted. Democrats not for a second thought about how do we leverage this? How do we impose conditions?
Now, wait a minute. I'm not so sure I believe that.
Granted, Democrats not for a second thought about how do we leverage this? How do we impose conditions?
Not for a second? You're telling me nobody thought about anything to do with that? Nobody thought, you know what, North Dakota wants this stuff. Maybe this is our chance to stop a pipeline. No? Nobody ever, that never crossed anybody's mind. I don't believe it. I don't believe that. Never for a second did we think about anything like that. Nah, somebody behind closed doors said, I mean, you guys want to throw the pipeline thing on this relief package? And the people around the table went, I think we'd probably lose that battle. I think we're going to get torn up. I don't think that's a game we want to play. But don't tell me nobody thought about it.
So it's never been done. It should not start now.
Yeah, I don't disagree. He says it's never been done. Shouldn't start now. I would agree with what Padilla has to say on that. Absolutely. But again, I honestly don't think there will be any condition. No, look, here's the thing. Anyone that knows my wife can simply ask her, is Chris wrong very often? And she will tell you, all the time. So I could be dead wrong. But I don't think I'm wrong on this one. I don't think so. I don't think there's going to be conditions tied to it. There may be some wrangling behind deportation stuff, sanctuary city, sanctuary state, immigration policy when it comes to some federal dollars coming to the state for other things. I don't think it's going to be this because I think if the Republicans tied the well-being of Americans to whatever their pet agenda was at the time, in the face of a disaster like this, I think it would burn them badly. I also think that we're in a weird spot where making the suggestion publicly is safe enough. There was a time that if you made such a suggestion, that would have been political masochism. But I don't necessarily think we're in that stage. We are definitely beyond that point where, the internet, the wonks, the crazies on the left and the right who are paying very close attention to the politics, they'll just go to battle on the internet anyway. And everyone else is getting burned out on it. And they just tune out the nonsense. It really is a lot of noise out of Washington. Just a lot of noise. And people are tired of the noise. But the people who make donations and get out the vote, they just eat it all up. They love it to death. By the way, we still have dozens of people missing. And this is a tragedy, too. I saw some of the photographs, and I think they're from the state IDs. We posted those at KFIAM640.com/missing. So we've got photos of people that have been reported missing by the LA County Sheriff's Department from both Palisades and the Eaton fire areas. And you can see those. The people, their photographs, the names. You'll also see, tragically, that so many of them are elderly, many disabled, bedridden, and you got a bad feeling about it. But until we know, we keep looking. So please have a gander at that, KFIAM640.com/missing. Take a look at the people that are missing that we're looking for. Some may have dementia. They just might not know what's going on. And it's almost like having one of those silver alerts, right? Where we just go, look, we just got to find them. They might be okay. They just don't know what's going on. Let's try to find them. So maybe you can help with that. KFIAM640.com/missing. All right. Some residents are trying to get back to their homes. Some are being allowed. Not all. In fact, I would say not even very many, but some are being allowed.
You're listening to Later with Mo Kelly on demand from KFI AM 640.
The world is watching the LA wildfires. We're seeing the loss and the devastation that is accompanying the environmental disaster. But that means that there's an opportunity for some people. No, not just the politicians. Come to find out, there's another group of people that need to have their day in the sun. Influencers. Yes, as the world is watching LA burn, some influencers are taking the opportunity to go get themselves a nice selfie with a fire in the background. Video circulating of would-be influencers filming dances and videos in the shadows of the disaster area, others facing backlash for making get ready with me while I evacuate videos, or using the fires to promote wellness products. Yeah, I think we've crossed the Rubicon. I don't think there's any coming back from this. Nah, I think we're too far gone as a society. Yeah. Come to find out, the nihilists were right all along. Yep. There's nothing really matters. Let me see. Selfie-style content rampant during the Maui wildfires as well. And as a result, the local Hawaiian community expressing how troubling they felt that their devastating losses were being turned into social media spectacle. And of course, that's what we're getting right now as people are getting their selfies in front of other people's homes burning to the ground. Yeah, there's nothing left. Nope. Nothing left. Last one out. Turn off the lights. Nothing left to save here. Society is screwed. We're toast. Meanwhile, there will be some trying to get back to their homes. The latest is it could take weeks before you can get back to your home if your home is still standing. For some people, their homes may still be standing, but the idea of going back to live there, you're talking months, in some cases years, before you can even get back into a living situation inside a home that didn't burn down. Think about a home that sustained some sort of damage, or the incredible heat that perhaps melted some of the internal parts of the home.
Thousands of...
we're going to play that in a minute. Just sit tight. Don't play it yet. Very good. Can you believe the people playing audio on this program? Randomly hitting buttons. Terrible. Very unprofessional, guys. Very unprofessional. It was me. So what happens is you've got this intense fire, this intense heat for hours around a home. Think of all of the stuff that's inside your house that could not handle excessive heat for a long period of time. And I'll give you an example of how quickly things can happen. So I lived in Arizona in the past, and I had things in a storage unit. I left them in that storage unit for about 2 years. That's just in Arizona, and Arizona gets hot. Inside the storage unit gets pretty hot. I'm going to say temperatures inside that storage unit probably got up to 130, 125, maybe 130 on the hottest days in July and August. When I went and emptied my storage unit, because I moved, but I left stuff in Arizona, and then I went back and got it a couple of years later. When I went back and got things, I had stuff that had just melted. I had bags that had disintegrated. I had kind of felt covers on furniture. Like on the bottom. You know what I'm talking about? That it's like a cover on the bottom of your furniture so that rodents don't get up in there or whatever. That had just completely disintegrated. That was a low temperature. There was a long exposure to a warm temperature. Certainly not talking about temperatures that would boil water like we see with these fires going over some of these homes. So I want you to consider that if you've got a home and you have this intense heat around that, think of all the stuff that is susceptible to heat that could be damaged simply by being exposed to high temperatures, even for a relatively short amount of time, an hour or two. Think about the stuff that you've got that your home needs. Gaskets, seals, you may have some expansion that goes on. You may have latex paint that starts to melt, or at least droop a little bit. I mean, you're gonna have expansion and contraction that is gonna loosen up fasteners. You may have drywall or ceiling that starts to sag simply because it got so incredibly hot and then went away. There will be restoration projects going on for years. There aren't enough restoration companies to come in and make everything good in another 6 weeks. It will not happen. You will have people that won't be able to get back into their homes, into a living situation, simply because of the immense heat that was near their home. And that's the truth. Even if your home is standing, it doesn't mean that your home is ready to move back into. So for many people, it's all about getting in there just to evaluate. For some, it'll be weeks before they can even get in to evaluate. Others, getting it a little bit sooner. And this is ABC 7 was talking about this. Okay, now go ahead, sound guy. Go ahead and play that. Yeah, that's me.
Thousands of Encino residents allowed back home for the first time in nearly a week.
To be back, I think knowing that, the police officers protected our neighborhood, I was so grateful. Really happy to be back home.
As of this afternoon, residents in the areas on the outskirts of the Palisades fire are allowed back home, but those neighborhoods still aren't open to the public. Police still checking IDs for everyone coming through to ensure it's only people who live here.
Yeah, and people who want to take selfies, of course. Goobers.
For many, it's been a long week staying with family or friends, not sure if and when they'd come home.
How many people are couch surfing right now? How many thousands of people do you think are just sat down on a friend or a family member's couch and will be for weeks to come? Ugh, that is not a great sitch.
Okay, we're going home now. No, we're not going home now. Now, yes, we're going home now. The winds are coming in our direction. No, the winds are going back. That back and forth was very, very, very tiring.
Last Friday night, as the Palisades fire reached Mulholland and cast an ominous fiery glow over the San Fernando Valley, entire neighborhoods were told to evacuate.
So we were kind of preparing for the worst. We got a few carloads of stuff. We packed it all up. We were ready, waiting. We would keep getting up on the roof. We'd take turns sleeping so that everyone was always watching to see how close it would get. It was pretty crazy.
That's pretty smart. Just get everything ready to go. But you don't want to leave because you're afraid looters are going to come through. Again, we're screwed. Society is just toast. There's nothing left to save.
For those neighborhoods directly impacted by the fire, it may be restricted for another week or possibly longer.
The goal is to be able to have a damage assessment done by the professionals and then to do abatement of the hazardous materials, and certainly then the search and recovery of remains. All of those things are in process right now, and so to be going into that zone and interfering with any of that would be problematic and not beneficial to the community overall.
Yeah, investigations and everything else that they have to do. God, this is going to be, we're going to be talking about this for months to come. I mean, just months. This is not something where we go, oh man, I can't believe you guys remember the wildfire from earlier this year? No. This is going to be, we're going to be talking about it in real time for months to come. By the way, iHeartRadio is hosting a special California town hall with Governor Newsom on Sunday, 9 a.m. across iHeart California stations, including KFI AM 640. Governor Newsom taking questions from Californians who've been impacted by the recent fires, going to discuss plans for the future of the state. So make sure you're listening to what he has to say on KFI Sunday morning, 9 a.m. All right, I got to shift away from the fires just a little bit to what could be an even bigger disaster, and that is day one. It's Executive Order Palooza coming Monday to a country near you. Chris Merrill in from Mo Kelly, KFI AM 640. We're live everywhere in the iHeartRadio app.
You've been listening to Later with Mo Kelly. You can always hear us live on KFI AM 640, 7 p.m. to 10 p.m. every Monday through Friday, and anytime on demand on the iHeartRadio app.